For Marie with the Project Share. I just made a few ATC cards for an art challenge through art42.org, and the theme is Antique Alley. So you needed to use anything that had some vintage or antique pieces, and here is what I came up with. I love anything that relates to sewing. So in my first ATC card, I actually made 5, 3 for swap, 1 to keep, and 1 to give as a gift to a friend. The first one is a vintage button card with a little boy, and actually it was a 2-part card, and I'll show you the second part on another card. I was able to utilize 1 button card. It's really amazing because these button cards that you find, they have real stitching with thread on the back, so you can tear and utilize parts of the cards for your art. I incorporated some crocheted lace. It was for a collar, and some vintage twill tape that actually has some velvet stitched. You'll see it in the center on there, and then just another embellishment of a button to kind of pull everything together. And there he is. He's so cute. All of the backings are the same. I just used the standard 2.5 by 3.5 inch ATC card, and then I just crinkled up some pretty tissue paper, and that was pretty much my base for all of the cards. The second one has the same vintage twill tape with the velvet ribbon down the center, and some bits and pieces of some laces, but it has an old snap card. And I liked the circular design on that, and again, this one actually came, it was kind of torn. I think the person selling it probably tore off the mildewed edges or the decayed edges, so it worked out perfectly. And then again, I used some crocheted lace, an old button that is already tarnishing. And then the modern elements would be the die cut for the bobbin or thread base, and that's Tim Holtz's sewing room, the die cuts. So I love that. It's right here, and there's the mannequin and a button, and then the thread spool. I think I said bobbin, but it's actually a thread spool. And then I just wrapped some vintage lace around that spool and also some crocheted lace and tied that all together. So, and then added a couple extra buttons down the side as well. That was fun to do. Number 3 is also an old card that has snaps on it, and again, circular design was really pretty. That thread spool again with some vintage laces wrapped around it. The sentiment stitched with love is a modern stamp design, and that is from this beautiful, I love this. This is TP Studios. I always say it incorrectly, but it's TP Studios Vintage Threads. So there's some really pretty vintage images if you love sewing. That's a great stamp set to have. And so that's what I used on for the sentiments on a few of them. And then a little piece of vintage lace right here, the real thin one. And then a modern crocheted flower that was Petaloo Designs with a vintage button. It has a really pretty oval type pearl. I love this card. This is one of my favorites. And Petaloo, it was these crocheted flowers, and then I tea stained them to use on this project. Next, this one has an old vintage button, Petaloo crocheted flower, again circular design for the snap card, and this was so old that it actually kind of felt leathery, and I love all the crinkles and creases in that. And then again, same thing, sentiment and the thread spool with some crocheted lace wrapped around it. And then finally, a little girl. This was the other half of that button card that had the boy on it. So the buttons were falling off of it. They're actually right here, and I really didn't need them. I think that it came together fine without them, so I included the flower, tied in her hair color and little doll's hair with the button colors. I think Romper Set says enough, so I didn't add an additional sentiment with that. And then the little spool, and pulls out kind of the vintage pinks. Love that one too. I think it's so cute. And then I have one extra one that I wanted horizontal, to use horizontally, so I'll maybe make an additional one. And then there's just some remnants of some vintage buttons here. So there you have it, the ATC cards with a vintage feel, sewing theme, and it's Antique Alley. So I'm going to be putting these in the mail to exchange with some of my artsy friends who love to make ATC cards. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.